So, welcome to today's video about cobalt turquoises. And as you see, this will contain a lot more swatching than the prior videos because I have a lot of cobalt turquoises. It's one of my favorite colors, so yeah, you can easily spot that. There are four different pigment used: PB28 cobalt aluminium oxide, pigment blue 28, pigment blue 36 cobalt chromium oxide, pigment green 50 cobalt titanium nickel zinc oxide, and the last one is PG 26. That's a mistake from myself writing it down. Cobalt chrome oxide. Some of them you will already recognize from other videos because PB28 also makes cobalt blues. PB36 is also used as a variation of cobalt turquoise, cobalt cerulean blues. You can see also there is a PB36 version of turquoise from the company Blocks. PG50 also makes cobalt greens as well as the pigment green 26. And yeah, Rembrandt also has two different versions. A lighter version you can see here, and the darker turquoise version of cobalt pigments, which you can see here. So there's a light and a darker version. We have two different cobalt turquoises from Rembrandt. And that's in a lot of companies that they offer different shades of cobalt turquoise, or also called cobalt teal. Mostly the American brands use the word teal, whereas the rest of the world tends to use cobalt turquoise a lot more for the lighter version. So we will start with the pigment blue 28 versions, and the pigment blue 28 is listed on handprint as one of the top 40 pigments. It's very light fast, semi-transparent, moderately staining, dark valued, moderately intense blue, has a large drying shift, so it will look a lot different in wet or in dry. Cobalt oxide can crystallize with several other common metals, and that makes the very wide color range. Like I said, the PB28 can also make a very beautiful cobalt blues, as well as those turquoises we will see now. And it's also one of the most expensive pigments used in industrial produced watercolors. The difference between the PB28 and PG50 versions of cobalt turquoises is that the PB28 versions tend to be more on the bluish side, as well as the PG50 versions has a little bit more of a greenish side. And they are very similar. It's a personal preference if you like the bluish or the greenish versions more. I personally tend to like the greenish versions a little bit more, but like I said, it's just a preference thing. The first one is called Cobalt Turquoise, made of PB28 from the Russian brand White Knights. And you have seen I have a full pan, but it must be said that full pans from White Knights, as well as the Ukrainian company Rosa Gallery, only contains 2.5 milliliters, whereas a real full pan contains 3 milliliters of color. So they are a little bit smaller. That's why normal full-sized pans doesn't tend to fit in those tins from those companies. So the next one I have from the dot card from Michello Mission Gold, also called Cobalt Turquoise, made with PB28. And the dot cards from Michello offer really a big amount of color, so you can color a lot with that. The next one is from the Polish company Roman Szmal, and it's called Cobalt Sea Blue, made from pigment blue 28. And you can already see that they are all very, very similar in hue. So the next one is from the Ukrainian company Rosa Gallery. It's also called Cobalt turquoise, and it has these very nice stickers which you can put on the side, so you have all the informations. I really, really like that a lot about the Rosa Gallery pens. That's a really, really nice thing to have. It's also made of PB 28. But this version is a little bit more on the greenish side, so it's a little bit different in hue to those we already swatched. And you see I also have a cobalt turquoise in the lower row from Rosa Gallery. I will say more about these two versions later when we swatch the second one. Like all cobalt pigments, these four pigments granulate as well, and it is a little bit different from pigment to and brand if the color granulates more or less. So that was the last one for the PB28 single pigment versions. We will start now with the pigment blue 36, which you may also know from cerulean blues. And we will start with the Chinese company Paul Rubens, and they call it turquoise light. Oh, sorry, just was my mobile phone. I set a timer and didn't turn it off before I started recording, so very sorry about that. So yes, we will now be swatching the cobalt turquoise, and also they have these neat stickers from their wrappers, which you can put on the sides. I really love when companies do that. So much, it looks so much nicer than when I have to write it down myself. So you will see this one is a little bit darker, but it also is close in hue to these PB28 versions of cobalt turquoise. And the next one we will be swatching is from the Polish company Roman Szmal again. It's cobalt turquoise made from PB36, and you will see now that this one is a lot darker than the prior turquoises we have swatched, because the PB36 made make these really dark turquoises as well. And when you yeah, no, I have already included it down. Sorry, I didn't see it. So just forget what I said just now. Let's continue with the next one. It's called Cobalt Green Turquoise, and it's from the German brand Schminke Horadam, also made with PB36. And I must say, when I see all those darker versions of PB36, that the Schminke version is a little bit different in hue to the other ones. It's a little bit, I would say, a little bit more bluish, whereas the other one tends to be a little bit more on the dark greenish side. It's a really, really beautiful color. Granulates very, very nicely. And yeah, I really like this version a lot. It's absolutely beautiful. So the next version is also made from PB36. It's from the American brand Daniel Smith, and they call it Cobalt Turquoise. And when I compare Roman Schmal with those two, I must say that Roman Schmal's version looks a little bit a little bit duller than the other two, and a little bit lighter as well, and a little bit more milky opaque than the Daniel Smith or Schminke Horadam version. But it is also a lot cheaper than those two as well. So next we will start with Cobalt Turquoise made from PG50 from Schminke Horadam. And normally the PG50 versions are a little bit more on the greenish side, with the absolute exception of Schminke, because it looks a lot more than the PB28 versions. A little bit more on the bluish side. That is very different here. So PG50, I've already said that in the Cobalt Green video, is a very light fast, semi-opaque, moderately staining, mid-valued, intense green, blue to medium dark, dull blue, green or those turquoises. And it's also listed on handprint as one of the top 40 pigments. So that was the Cobalt Teal from Roman Schmal, made from PG50. And I think that's the only brand I knew which offers two different from those light turquoises. We have the PB28 version and the PG50 version as well. And I think that Roman Schmal is the brand I know which offers the most cobalt pigments, because they have cobalt pigments I don't know from other brands. You will see that in the cobalt blue video. So the next one we are swatching is also made from PG50, like the last two. It's cobalt teal from the American brand Core. And oh, I totally forgot the PB36. PB36, like I said, also offers different shades of colors. It's also rated on handprint as one of the top 40 pigments. It's light fast, semi-opaque, moderately staining, granulating like all cobalt pigments, dark valued, moderately dull to moderately intense blue to greenish blues, up to 20% drying shift, says handprint, and it ranges from warm to cool as well. So then we have another PG50 version, Cobalt Teal Blue from Daniel Smith. And I must say I love this one a lot because it granulates really, really strongly. And it's no wonder that they call Daniel Smith masters of granulation. It's really a lot more than the other cobalt teals and turquoises from those lighter versions. And it's also more on the greenish side, which I personally like a lot. So yeah, really, really love this one. And because of the very strong granulation, it is really perfect for mixing your own super granulation and color separation mixes. So the next one I have is Cobalt Turquoise Light from Winsor & Newton Professional PG50, and that's the one I use at the moment, probably the most, because I have this small 5 milliliter tube which is nearly empty, so I am working on finishing the small tube, try to use it up completely. And I really like this version as well, but I would say it's more on the greenish side, but not as strongly as the Cobalt teal from Daniel Smith or Roman Schmal or the core version. So it's a little bit more in between those greenish and bluish versions. So that was all the PG50 versions I have. We will now um, going to the PG26. And as you see, like I said, the 5 milliliter tube is nearly empty, and because I like this version a lot, I've bought already a new tube, but this time 15 or 14 milliliters tube. The Winsor Newton professionals don't offer 15 milliliter, they offer only 14 milliliter tubes. And you can get from some pigments, you can also get very large tubes with 37 milliliters. So that's really, when you have a color which you lose very, very much, then this is the ultimate deal for price per milliliter. At least when you can get them for a good price, depending on where you live. But I think that at least I see people from all over the world using the Cotman, so the student grade range. So I think Winsor Newton is probably one of the most accessible companies worldwide. So the next one, like I said, is PG26. And this you may already have seen in my Cobalt green video. It's Cobalt, it's turquoise dark from Paul Rubens. And it looks a lot like the PB36 cobalt turquoises. They are very similar in hue. And the PG26 is also very light fast, opaque, staining, dark valued, dull blue greens to greenish blacks in mass tone. So the next two are mixes between different cobalt pigments. The first one is from Rosa Gallery. I mentioned it earlier. We also have in the first row the single pigment PB28, cobalt turquoise, and it has the internal number 741. And the really confusing thing is that this second one is also called cobalt turquoise, has also the number 741, and it's a mix of PB28 and PB36. I have no clue if they changed the formula, or if, because I have the single pigment version from the single pigment set, if they only offer the single pigment version in those single pigment sets. I have no clue, because normally you would have at least a different internal number for different versions, but they don't. I have looked it up, and if you know something why there are those different versions with the same number, please let me know in the comments below. Also, we have the Cobalt turquoise from Winsor Newton Professional. It is a mix between pigment blue 28 and PG 36. And this is also something I don't know because I've seen it in other videos that this color once was a single pigment version of PG 36, and I have no clue why they're now doing this two pigment mix when they had already had it as a single pigment version. So if you know something about why they changed that formula, please let me know in the comments. I really would like to learn the reasons for that change, because for me personally, it makes absolutely no sense to change a single pigment color to a two pigment mix. Okay, so that was all the cobalt turquoises I own. Of course, there are other brands, like always. Can't have them all. My my bank account will cry if I buy every single version of all the colors. And some brands are very hard to get in Germany as well. So depending on which country you live, you can access some brands more easily than others. I really hope you have enjoyed this video and that the video may help you deciding which of those versions of cobalt, teals or turquoises you like the most, and help you decide which one you want to buy. Or if you have already a version which you like the most and which you use a lot, then just let me know in the comments below. I really want to know about those things. I find them totally interesting. And yeah, if you like the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up or a follow so that you won't miss the other videos about cobalt pigments and other color families I will do in the future. I will link the already finished cobalt family videos in the description box below. So if you haven't seen those, you can find them easily. And if you don't want to miss the next upcoming cobalt or other pigment videos, like I said, then I would really, really appreciate a follow. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and thank you very, very much for watching. And yeah, like always, I wish you a wonderful week.